What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. And just before we get into it, please scroll down and smash that subscribe button. Only 60% of you watching this video are currently subscribed. That means 40% of you, a whooping 40% of you, still need to scroll down and smash that subscribe button. We are on other platforms such as X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook as well. So go check us out on there for some other kinds of content. But let's get into this Tottenham update. And where else to start but Ange Postecoglou, as Dave Ornstein says that the feeling at Tottenham is that the squad is much better than the results and performances suggest right now, and Ange is not getting the best out of them. John Cross says that Ange is under increasing pressure with a growing belief that he could go even if Spurs win the Europa League, with Marco Silva, Oliver Glasner and Andoni Iraola, three of the names in the frame to replace him. Regarding Andoni Iraola, it looks as though he is set to sign a new contract at Bournemouth. Nothing confirmed as of yet, but it looks as though he could be out the running. And yeah, I mean, taking back to what David Ornstein said, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work that one out.
Yeah, I mean, that's obvious. For sure, we've not been getting the results that the quality of the squad should be getting. He definitely hasn't been getting the most out of it. I think that's clear for everyone to see. Obviously, you know, we've had this unbelievable injury crisis, and that's been a massive part of our season. But even in that context, he hasn't been getting the most out of his players. I think that's clear. Even in the injury crisis, we should be doing a lot better. There's been certain results that we should have been, like, for example, Leicester and things like that, where, yes, I understand it's very difficult, but if you're a better manager, you should be getting results in those kind of games. And for sure, we shouldn't be sitting in 15th with the squad that we have at our disposal. I think anyone can see that's definitely true. But obviously, a lot of rides on him and winning that Europa League, because a lot of the clamour for the trophy for many, many years at this club, that's been a big focus for a lot of the fan base. Years and years, people saying, oh, we're only focused on top four, we never focus on winning a trophy. So if we win it, I think the mood will lift. But when we are right now, only in a quarter-final, which is no real achievement, let's be honest. In the Europa League, we should be getting at least here. And being 15th in the league is not acceptable. Not acceptable by any stretch. So he knows he has to win that Europa League.
Yeah, and, you know, we are 15th now, but who knows where we're going to be come the end of the season. I mean, I can't see us finishing, and, like, even if we have a really good run, I can't see us finishing anything above 13th this season, something around there.
Correct.
And we could potentially only 2 points above 17th. You know, we could finish 17th this season, which, Europa League or no Europa League, is a sackable offence in my opinion.
Of course. Of course. Well, you said we win the treble and finish 17th, you'd sack him.
Yeah, I did say that.
In terms of Andoni, is this the start of another protracted summer of managers where we're getting rejected one by one? It happened before. I remember that's before we hired Nuno. We were just getting rejected by managers left, right and centre. Do you think this is the start of a trend?
Probably, to be honest. When managers are looking at their next job and Tottenham come about, I mean, it's got to be a hard sell at this moment in time, because we're just eating up and chewing up managers and spitting them out every 2 years, every 18 months. And, you know, it's going to be hard to, you know, convince a manager to come here.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? Because everyone talks about Pochettino's time and his quotes, a painful rebuild. But one thing, the quote that people don't usually go back to is when he was talking about how we have to act like a big club. And he said, you know, you see the clubs who are challenging for titles, they always spend lots and lots of money, and obviously we don't kind of do that. And he said either we're being really smart and we're smarter than everyone else by not doing this, or we're just not doing the right things. And he did say that quite blatantly, and no one kind of brings that quote back up, but that's quite telling. And I think, yes, it's possible to get ahead of the competition by not spending that amount of money, but you have to be smarter than them. And it feels like we're just not spending the money but whilst also not doing it in a smart way, and that comes from really investing in what you're trying to do. And it feels like we're just trying to cut corners without really actually doing the work that's needed to get ahead of the competition while not spending the money. And that's obviously a lot of managers are going to look at that and think, am I going to go and ruin my reputation by going there or is there a lot of potential? Can I do a lot with what's there? So it's a lot of I think a lot of managers will be looking at obviously the managers that we've appointed and the different direction we've gone in and haven't been able to gain success, and definitely be thinking twice about it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And on Marco Silva, Alex Crook has got an update on him, and he says that he is emerging as the front runner for the Tottenham job. I'm not sure how reliable is Alex Crook.
He's very hit and miss. He's very hit and miss. But I think we've heard that him, Iraola and Frank are the leading candidates. So I think him being on a short list of 3 would definitely make him, just by default, a front runner. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's like any more news than we've heard, but it's interesting to hear him, like obviously pinpoint him specifically. I think Silva's obviously a good manager, having a great season with Fulham. And what's good about him as well, obviously he's worked with a lot of basically the tools he's been given. He lost Mitrovic and he's made it work with Jimenez, Paulinho. He's made it work with the likes of Harrison Reed and Santa Berge he replaced. And also he's fairly good at rejuvenating players. You know, Iwobi was cast aside by a few clubs and he's made it work. Adama Traore, he's made it work. Smith Rowe. Andreas Pereira was cast aside by United and made it work. So I think he showed an ability to basically get the most out of what he's got. And I think he is a good manager, but his record is definitely has some question marks about it, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, you say that, but I mean, the jobs that he's taken, which, you know, you say hasn't done a good job in, are very difficult jobs. I mean, Hull was an extremely difficult job. Watford, by definition, they're just chopping and changing managers every year anyway. And who was the other one?
Everton.
Everton as well, you know, which he had a good time at Everton at some point.
For a bit. Yeah, not that long, but I mean, his first year, I think they finished 8th, and that was like a decent return. And considering where they are now, I mean, they'll snatch your hand off for that. But back then, obviously, that was around their kind of level at the time. And then he got sacked. I think it was very similar to like, you know, AVB or whatever, like decent first year, but then not real confidence going to the second year. I don't know if he's the answer. I like him. I think he's a good manager. I'd willing to give it a go, but I'm not like utterly convinced like he's the answer for us.
Yeah, I think out of all those names, Silva, Glasner, Iraola, got to put Frank in there as well. I think my number one out of those would probably be Glasner.
I think he's the best manager out of all of them.
Yeah.
I think so.
Next up, let's talk about some players. And the first up is Hugo Ekitike of Eintracht Frankfurt. Bild are reporting that Frankfurt are demanding a fee of around 100 million euros for the 22-year-old amid interest from Arsenal and Tottenham.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to spend 100 million on anyone. Ekitike. I like him though. Obviously, we saw firsthand in the first leg what an unbelievable talent that guy is, and unbelievable goal. And he's been smashing it for Frankfurt this season. Clearly, bags of ability. A lot of hosted clubs are after him. The problem is, you know, with this limbo that we're in, is this the kind of move you need to kind of build the kind of get ahead of the game on? And are we going to be a bit too late? But even if we are serious about him, I just can't see us going that high.
Yeah, me neither. But, you know, Bild also are not exactly the most reliable. They're also very hit and miss sources from out in Germany. But Ange says, never believe German sources.
Absolutely right. But, you know, because they let go of Marmoush in January, I expect maybe they'll probably demand that a little bit more for him.
Yeah, probably. Look, he's having a great season. Great goal against us last week. I'm not sure if he'll actually go for 100 million. Like, I don't know. I don't see anyone at this moment in time actually putting 100 million on the table for him.
They sold Marmoush for how much? 70?
Something like that, yeah.
So I expect it to be a similar fee to that. At least.
Yeah, I guess so. But look, I don't genuinely think Spurs would be in the running for him, to be honest.
Well, if we keep Tellem, we keep Oda, and we have Odebear, then that's a front three of
a French under 22 front three.
Yeah, which smashed out in the international break. They're all probably friends.
Yeah, some good chemistry around that. Let's talk about Tyler Dibling now, as Florian Plettenberg has given us a new update on him, and he says a move for Tyler Dibling is planned at the end of the season following Southampton's relegation. Bayern and Leipzig remain interested, with Leipzig currently ahead in the race. Dibling is open to a move to the Bundesliga. The transfer fee is expected to be significantly lower than reported. Figures of around 70 to 80 million are wide off the mark. Tottenham are also keen, but currently considered as outsiders in the race for the 19-year-old. So we've gone from being the front runners, almost done, as some journalists were saying a few months ago or a month ago.
Well, Romano
said outsiders.
He said it was our main target.
Yeah.
Kind of our main target. So outsiders for our main target, which is a 19-year-old winger from Southampton.
Sounds like Tottenham, to be fair.
Yeah, probably. I said it before, if I was him and Leipzig come in for me, I'd probably go there because I think you're getting a first choice spot there. You'll be amazing for his development. And I also said, look, Tottenham's not a bad option. Like, I'm sure, he'll get game time, get opportunities, but Leipzig will be like, he can be a star there. He can be starting every week and in a good league as well, get European football. And they've got a record of developing players of his age very consistently. So I think if I'm him, I think Leipzig's the better option right now than Tottenham. But I don't think Tottenham's a bad option.
Yeah, I do think he sees significant game time at Tottenham as well, and probably, in the Premier League, which is obviously the Premier League where he's always played. I'm just looking at kind of Leipzig's options on the wing. Who do they have? They play a 4-4-2, so it's a bit of a different system, but they play Riedel Baku on the right wing and Javi Simons on the left wing. So, I mean, they've got good players there. And you're looking at Bayern. I mean, is he getting in the team ahead of Elise right now?
Be interesting if they get rid of Tell and sign Dibling. That would be quite interesting. No, he wouldn't get in ahead of
because they're both right. I mean, I guess Dibling can play in multiple positions, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think
they got Musiala. They got and they've got top players there. I can't see him getting too much minutes.
Yeah, I don't think Bayern would be the best option for him. I think Leipzig would. I think I would back. He should back himself to get into that Leipzig team. And Siemens, is he going to be there long term? Who knows?
Yeah, true. Is he only on loan still?
I think
they signed him.
I think they signed him signing. Yeah.
No, they actually did.
Yeah.
Next up, let's talk about Kingsley Coman, as Plettenberg again is giving us information on him. And he says Coman has already internally expressed his desire to leave this summer. Saudi clubs are now taking the matter very seriously and planning a visit to Munich for talks with Bayern. In England, Arsenal are currently the most concrete option, especially since Leroy Sané is about to extend his contract at Bayern. Spurs would like to sign Coman, but are currently in a waiting position due to his high salary.
And we're always in a waiting position. Wait. I love Kingsley Coman. I think when it looked like he was going to be a world beater at one point, hasn't quite kind of lived up to that, but he's still an unbelievable player. You can see the talent when he's on the pitch, and his career has really just been plagued by a lot of injuries and maybe a lack of effectiveness in that final third when it comes to his final ball. But I think the guy has serious ability. When he's fully fit, he's very one of the top wingers, I think. But we just haven't seen that as consistently, I guess, as much as we would like for a player of his ability. I just think, look, he's getting close to 30 now.
28.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not
a good age.
I'm not saying he's old, but I'm saying he's a player who is getting close to 30. He's on massive wages and he doesn't have a great injury record, and it's just not the kind of signing Tottenham make.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the injury record is a serious concern, but I feel like these are the kind of caliber of players that we need to be signing at this age, to kind of guide these young players through. That's what we need, some experience, some players that have been there and done it and got the T-shirt, and he's definitely done that. I mean, what trophy has Kingsley Coman not won? Pretty much last season was like the first season of his career that he hasn't won a trophy.
Scored a goal in the Champions League final, didn't he? The winning goal.
Yeah, I mean, he's been there, he's done it, he's won it all. These are the kind of players that these young players need to guide them through. I think the age is perfect.
I don't mind the age. I don't mind players of that age if their injury record's fine. But with a 28-year-old with a bad injury record,
the injury record,
that's
the key point there.
If you have to show you can be reliable.
Yeah,
and he hasn't shown that. If he was younger, it'd be a different story. If he was like 23, I'd be like, even with his injury record, I'd give it a chance. But at 28, it's not worth the risk. I don't think.
For me, this has a Saudi written all over it. To be honest, I think so. And last but not least, the Bleacher Report reporting that Chelsea and Tottenham have joined Man City in the race for AC Milan's Theo Hernandez, who could leave for around £30 million. So when you hear Tottenham...
30 million? What, has he got 1 year left in his contract or something?
I'm not sure.
Must do. 30 million is way too low, surely.
But, I can't see him leaving AC Milan, to be honest, because I think he loves it there. He's a captain or vice-captain or something over there, mainstay in the team. His contract is 2026, so it is running down.
That is 1 year. It'll be 1 year left in the summer then.
But when you hear of Tottenham in a race with Chelsea and Man City, that means Tottenham are not in a race.
But we're replacing Udogi. He's going to City. Would you replace him with Theo? Would you take that?
Yeah, of course I would.
100%, I would take that. I think Theo Hernandez is brilliant. I actually think he is a bit better than Milan at the moment because Milan have just been stuttering, and I think he's a top left back. I'm a big fan of him. So I think he could easily go to one of those clubs, a top top team. But
He's like
he ain't
part
come
of
to
the
Tottenham.
furniture there. He's been there so long. I think he absolutely adores it there.
Yeah, but they've been stuttering for a while, you know, and he's a world-class player, in my
If
opinion.
Man City come in for him, that could be a serious move for Man City, to be fair. 27 years of age, playing at the top of your game, one of the best left-backs in Europe, you know.
He ain't
I
coming
think
to
it's a
Tottenham.
move for Man City written in the stars.
He ain't coming to Tottenham.
But
Guarantee that.
yeah, we can safely say he's not going to become to Tottenham. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we've brought to you. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.